Jake Morrison was the only mechanic still working on Christmas Eve when the call came through at 32. Jake owned Morrison's Auto Repair, a small shop he'd inherited from his father 3 years ago. The business was struggling chain. Shops and dealerships had taken most of his customers, but Jake kept the doors open out of stubborn loyalty to his father's memory and the handful of regular customers who still trusted him. Tonight, he was working late, trying to fix Mrs. Chin's car so she'd have it for Christmas morning. Even though she probably couldn't afford to pay him. His phone rang at 8 p.m., an unknown number. Jake almost didn't answer, but something made him pick up. Morrison's Auto Repair. We're technically closed, but I can take a message. Please, I need help. The woman's voice was stressed and desperate. My daughter's Christmas present was being delivered today, but the delivery truck broke down 20 miles outside town. The toy store said it's the last one in stock, and if it doesn't get delivered tonight, my daughter won't have her main Christmas gift. I know it's late in Christmas Eve, but is there any way you could help? I can pay whatever it costs. I just need someone to get that toy and bring it here. Jake should have said no. He should have explained he was busy, that Christmas Eve roadside assistance would cost a fortune, that 20 miles in the snowstorm that was currently pounding the area was dangerous, probably not worth it for a toy. Instead, he heard himself say, "Where's the delivery truck? And where do you need the toy delivered?" The woman gave him the locations. The truck was stranded on Route 7. She lived at the Riverside Estates, the expensive development on the edge of town. "I'm Victoria Sterling. I just moved here last week for a new job. I don't know anyone in town yet, and my daughter Lily has been so brave about the move. This toy is the one thing she asked Santa for. Please, I'll pay you triple your normal rate. I just need someone to help. I'll do it. But Mrs. Sterling, I'm not doing this for triple rate. I'm doing it because it's Christmas Eve, and your daughter deserves her present. Give me the truck driver's number, and I'll get your toy." Jake called Mrs. Chin to explain he'd have to finish her car tomorrow, then loaded his toolbox and tow equipment into his truck. The snowstorm was getting worse, but Jake had grown up in this area. He knew how to drive in snow, and he had a 4-wheel drive truck that could handle most conditions. He found the delivery truck on Route 7, stuck in a ditch with a blown tire and a frustrated driver. "You, the mechanic. Lady said someone was coming, but I figured she was dreaming. Nobody drives out in this weather." "I do. Let me see what you've got." Jake changed the tire in the blinding snow, his hands going numb despite his gloves. The driver, grateful and half frozen, handed over Victoria Sterling's package, a large box with Lily Sterling written on the label. "You're a lifesaver, man. I've got 12 more deliveries, but I can get those tomorrow." This one was urgent. Lady sounded really stressed about her kid having a Christmas. Keir secured the box in his truck and started the drive to Riverside Estates. The roads were getting worse, visibility near zero, but Jake drove carefully, aware that he was carrying a little girl's Christmas morning in his truck bed. He thought about his own childhood Christmases, back when his parents were alive and healthy, when his dad would stay up late assembling toys and his mom would make cookies. Those memories felt distant now, but they reminded him why he was doing this. Riverside Estates was the kind of neighborhood Jake never visited. Mansions with 3-car garages, perfect landscaping, security gates. He gave the guard Victoria Sterling's name and was directed to a house that looked like it belonged in a magazine spread. Jake parked and grabbed the package, which was heavier than expected. He trudged through the snow to the front door and rang the bell, suddenly aware that he was covered in grease and snow, wearing work clothes that had seen better days, bringing a Christmas present to someone who clearly lived in a different world than he did. The door opened, and Jake forgot whatever he'd been planning to say. The woman standing there was beautiful, probably in her early 30s, with light brown hair and exhausted green eyes. She wore jeans and a sweater, no makeup, and looked like she'd been crying. When she saw the package in Jake's arms, her face transformed with relief. You actually came. Oh my God, you actually drove through the storm to bring my daughter's toy. Victoria's voice broke. I can't believe you did this. Please, come in out of the snow. Let me pay you and get you something warm to drink. Ma'am, I'm covered in snow and grease. I'll just leave the package here. Absolutely not. You drove 20 miles in a blizzard on Christmas Eve. The least I can do is offer you coffee and pay you for your time. Victoria practically pulled him inside, taking the package and setting it carefully by the tree. Lily's asleep upstairs. She cried herself to sleep, worried that Santa wouldn't find her because we just moved. I've been such a mess trying to unpack and start this new job, and I forgot to pick up her main present from the toy store. When they said the delivery truck broke down, I thought Christmas was ruined. You saved Christmas. How do I even begin to thank you? You don't have to thank me. It's Christmas Eve. Nobody's kid should wake up disappointed on Christmas morning if I can help it. Jake accepted the coffee. Victoria pressed into his hands, looking around at the half-unpacked boxes and the Christmas tree that was beautiful but clearly decorated by someone under stress. You said you just moved here for a job. I'm the new CEO of Sterling Industries. They acquired a company here and I'm overseeing the integration. It's been overwhelming. New city, new job, doing it all as a single mom because my ex-husband decided being a father was too much work. Victoria's expression was a mixture of exhaustion and determination. Lily's been so brave, but she's scared about new school and missing her friends. This toy, it's a special art set she's been wanting. She loves to draw. It was the one thing that made her excited about Christmas, despite everything else being uncertain. What's Sterling Industries? Jake asked, then immediately felt stupid. Of course, the CEO wouldn't expect a mechanic to know her company. But Victoria just smiled, not condescending. We're a manufacturing company, actually. We make industrial equipment and parts. We just acquired Riverside Manufacturing here in town. I'm supposed to start officially after the holidays. Jake's stomach dropped. Riverside Manufacturing was one of his biggest remaining customers. They sent him their fleet vehicles for maintenance. If Sterling Industries was taken over, that account was probably going to move to some corporate chain shop. Another nail in his business's coffin. But he didn't say any of that. Instead, he finished his coffee and stood. I should get going. Storm's getting worse, and you should get some rest. You've got a big day tomorrow with your daughter. Please let me pay you. What do I owe you for the repair and the delivery? Nothing. Consider it a welcome to town gift. Jake headed for the door, but Victoria grabbed his arm. Jake, it's Jake, right? You can't drive through a blizzard, repair a truck, deliver a package, and refuse payment. That's not how this works. Sure it is. It's Christmas Eve. Merry Christmas, Mrs. Sterling. I hope your daughter loves her present. Jake left before Victoria could argue further, driving home through the worsening storm, feeling strangely satisfied, despite knowing he'd probably just helped the CEO who was going to end up costing him his business. Christmas morning, Victoria woke to Lily's excited squeals. Her daughter had found the art set under the tree and was convinced Kana had performed a miracle to deliver it despite the storm. Mommy, Santa brought it. He brought the art set even though we just moved and I thought he might not find me. Lily was glowing with happiness, already opening markers and planning drawings. Victoria thought about the mechanic who'd driven through a blizzard refusing payment, who'd saved Christmas for a little girl he'd never met, who'd treated her like a regular person instead of a CEO. She found his business card on the counter where she left it, Morrison's Auto Repair. After New Year's, Victoria started her official role at Sterling Industries. One of her first tasks was reviewing all vendor contracts, including vehicle maintenance. She saw Morrison's Auto Repair on the list for Riverside Manufacturing's fleet vehicles and made a decision that had nothing to do with business and everything to do with a man who'd driven through a snowstorm on Christmas Eve instead of moving the contract to a corporate chain. Victoria doubled it Then she added, Sterling Industries' own fleet. Then she called Jake directly. Morrison's Auto Repair. This is Jake. This is Victoria Sterling. The Christmas Eve delivery. Mrs. Sterling, is everything okay? Did the toy arrive damaged? The toy was perfect. My daughter had the best Christmas morning. I'm calling about something else. I'm officially CEO of Sterling Industries now, and we're going to need a reliable mechanic for our vehicle fleets, both Sterling's and Riverside Manufacturing's. I'd like to discuss a contract with you if you're interested. There was a long pause. Mrs. Sterling, you don't have to give me a contract out of gratitude. I told you the delivery was a gift. 'Tis isn't gratitude, it's business. I reviewed your credentials, your customer satisfaction ratings, and your pricing. You're competitive, reliable, and clearly willing to go above and beyond when needed. Exactly what we need. Unless you're not interested in the work. I'm interested. I'm just trying to figure out if this is charity or business. It's business. Jake, good business. Can you meet me tomorrow to discuss terms? They met at a shop. Victoria in a business suit, looking every inch the CEO. Jake in his work clothes, trying not to feel intimidated. But Victoria treated him like an equal partner, negotiating fairly. And by the end of the meeting, Jake get a contract that would probably save his business. Why are you really doing this? Jake asked as they finalized paperwork. You could have used any corporate chain. This contract is big enough that you didn't need to give it to a small shop like mine, because you drove through a blizzard on Christmas Eve to deliver my daughter's toy without asking for anything in return. That told me more about your character than any business credentials could. I want to work with people who understand that some things matter more than profit margins. And honestly, Jake, I'm new in this town. I'm overwhelmed. And you're the only person who's shown me genuine kindness without wanting something from me. I'd like to do business with someone I actually trust. For the following months, Jake worked on Sterling's fleet vehicles while trying not to notice how much he looked forward to Victoria's occasional visits to the shop. She'd stop by to check on progress and end up staying to talk about business, life, raising kids alone, the challenge of starting over in a new place. Lily talks about you constantly, Victoria admitted one afternoon. She's convinced you're Santa's helper because you delivered her art set. She wants to show you her drawings. I'd love to see them. I'm not exactly Santa's helper, but I appreciate the vote of confidence. You're more of a helper than you realize. You saved Christmas for her. And honestly, you saved my sanity, too. That night, I felt so alone and overwhelmed. You showing up made me feel like maybe this town wouldn't be so bad after all. 6 months after the Christmas Eve delivery, Jake asked Victoria to dinner. Not as business partners, but as two single parents who'd found something unexpected in each other's company. I know this complicates our business relationship, Jake said, and I know you're my client, technically, which makes the power dynamic weird. But Victoria, I've been thinking about you since Christmas Eve, about the woman who was so desperate to save her daughter's Christmas that she called a stranger and asked for help, about the CEO who treats a small-town mechanic like an equal partner. I'd like to get to know you better if you're interested. I'm interested. I've been interested since Christmas Eve, when you refused payment and drove away in a blizzard rather than let me thank you properly. But Jake, we need to be honest with each other. I'm a CEO with a demanding job. You own a business that requires your constant attention. We're both single parents. Dating is going to be complicated. I'm good with complicated. I drove through a blizzard to deliver a toy. I can handle complicated. They dated carefully, building a relationship around their children and busy schedules. Lily adored Jake, showing him her artwork and asking constant questions about how cars worked. Jake's own life felt fuller with Victoria and Lily in it, less lonely and more purposeful. A year after that Christmas Eve delivery, Jake proposed to Victoria in his shop, with Lily's enthusiastic participation. He'd arranged for Lily to help him with a special project building a custom toolbox. with Sterling Morrison Family Garage engraved on it. Victoria Sterling. I drove through a snowstorm on Christmas Eve to deliver your daughter's toy. I thought I was saving Christmas for a little girl I'd never meet again. What I was actually doing was finding my family. You taught me that success isn't measured in profit margins, but in being present for people who need you. Lily taught me that magic is real when you believe in people who show up when they say they will. You could have hired any corporate fleet service. Instead, you trusted a small-town mechanic and changed my life. Will you marry me and let me spend forever being the person who shows up when you need me? Victoria said yes, while Lily cheered and announced that she'd known all along that the Santa's helper from Christmas, Kay, was actually a prince in disguise. The wedding was 6 months later, small and meaningful, with Lily as flower girl carrying a bouquet she'd drawn herself. In his vows, Jake spoke words that made everyone cry. On Christmas Eve, a stranger called, asking for help delivering her daughter's toy through a blizzard. I could have said no. I should have said no. Instead, I drove 20 miles in dangerous conditions because a little girl deserved to wake up happy on Christmas morning. Victoria, you were terrified and overwhelmed, new in town and trying to save Christmas alone. You could have been condescending or entitled when a grease-covered mechanic showed up at your mansion. Instead, you treated me with respect and kindness. You gave me a business contract that saved my shop, but more importantly, you gave me a family that saved my life. I promise to keep showing up when you need me, to build a life where Lily's drawings decorate our walls and success is measured in dinner table conversations, and to never forget that the best things in life often begin with someone asking for help and someone else saying yes. Victoria's vows were equally moving. A mechanic drove through a blizzard on Christmas Eve to deliver my daughter's toy, refusing payment and treating it like it was the most natural thing in the world. Jake, you could have charged me triple rates or made me feel like I owed you something. Instead, you gave freely and disappeared into the storm before I could thank you properly. You treated Lily's Christmas morning like it mattered more than money, and you treated me like a person rather than a title. You saved Christmas that night, but more importantly, you reminded me that kindness exists, that not everyone wants something from me, that it's okay to ask for help. I promise to keep trusting you with the important things, to remember that the best partnerships are built on mutual respect rather than power dynamics, and to never forget that sometimes the most important deliveries aren't toys, but the connections we make with people brave enough to drive through storms to help strangers. Mechanic who'd plowed through snow to deliver a toy discovered something more valuable than any fleet contract, that showing up when people need you creates connections money can't buy. That the woman who called desperately for help became the partner who helped him thrive. And that sometimes saying yes to inconvenient requests on Christmas Eve is how we find the family we were always meant to have. Proving that the best stories begin not with grand gestures, but with simple kindness. Someone asking for help, someone else driving through a storm to say yes, and two people discovering that the distance between stranger and family is sometimes just 20 miles of snow and the courage to make this journey. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment below about someone who showed up for you when you needed them most. Your stories inspire us all.